One thing that I see neglected far too often in weight training regimens is seasonality. We call that macrocycles. And the something is, I say I have a goal and I want to build muscle or I want to get stronger. And, whatever my goal is, when I show up at the gym, that's how I lift. I say, I want to be a great big guy, I want to build these big ripply muscles, fine. So you go to the gym and you just lift and you lift and you lift on a hypertrophy program, incessantly. And I mean, that's great. It will work. You will grow. You will get results. But are you getting the best results possible? And the answer is no. Are you possibly risking injury based on this kind of training regimen? And the answer is a resounding yes. And what happens is the muscles need different kinds of training at different times. When you build a lot of muscle, when you add mass, it's great that you've got new tissue there, but the problem is your nerves, your nervous system really don't know how to utilize all of that new tissue efficiently. So there comes a point in time when you really need to kind of back off of trying to grow and say, you know what, let's work on strength for a little bit. Let's work on that neuromuscular efficiency so that the nerves have a chance to establish a good communication with all that muscle and use it to generate as much force as that mass is capable of generating. And another thing is stability. What happens when you build a bunch of new tissue or when you're first coming into lifting is your muscles, they're not homogeneous. They don't have the same strength from end to end of the full length of the muscle. They have strong parts and they have weak parts. And when you do stability lifting, you're strengthening and shoring up those weaknesses in the muscle because those weaknesses are what lead to injury. When you're working in the strong zone and you're working and lifting according to the strongest part of the muscle, what happens is the weakest part of the muscle will fail. And that's going to give you something like tendonitis, tennis elbow, plantar fasciitis, runner's knee, take your pick. Sore shoulders from doing overhead press, sore elbows from bench press, the list goes on. And when you do this stability training, you stabilize the weak parts of those muscles. So now when you go back to your hypertrophy, what happens is you've stabilized. So now you've eliminated those weak spots and you're not going to get injured. And on top of that, you've strengthened the muscle. So now you can lift a whole lot heavier weight, which is going to lead to what? Better results when you're training for size. So, that's kind of the idea of a macrocycle. And of course, macrocycles are an integral part of MMLF. They're built in with lots of features for customizing the macrocycle according to a person's preferences and capacity, their ability to recover. And it's a beautiful thing, but if you're just doing one kind of training all the time, you might be getting results, but those results are going to be risky and they're not optimal. You could be getting better results, most likely, if you were using something like a macrocycle.